Hello everyone, I am Monali Mishra and I'll be taking your demo class for urban design, and we will be in this subject. In this demo session we will be getting to know about what this subject is all about, getting to have a little bit of a peek into this, a little bit of insight about what it is, trying to understand what kind of questions are asked, what is the weightage of urban design from the GATE point of view. Now, before we start off with the subject, the first thing that we need to look into and we need to understand is the importance of urban design in your GATE subject, in your GATE examination. How important is this particular urban design in your GATE examination? Now, for that, we have to understand first what is the weightage and what are the number of questions that are asked from this. So we can say that on an approx, you can expect around 4 to 6 marks questions, and that kind of amounts to almost 3 to 4 questions from this particular subject. Now, recently the amount of marks or the weightage of this particular subject has comparatively increased a lot. 4 to 6 marks, it's not less, it's not small amount of marks, it's not something that you can basically neglect. So it's quite a good amount of marks, 4 to 6 marks, and questions are asked from this every year. You can expect questions from your urban design. Now, if you have to understand about the syllabus point of view, now you must already be aware about one thing, that is the GATE has been divided into 3 parts. One is your general aptitude part, which you have, and then part A and part B. So part A is basically your common part, which everybody has to attempt, and part B is further basically subdivided into 2 sections. So one is your B1 and the other is your B2. So basically one is architecture and the other is planning. So you have to choose either of this. You either can attempt for architecture or you can attempt for planning. Now, GATE has actually, for your convenience, divided the syllabus also in these 3 parts: common, architecture and planning. Obviously, you can do that kind of a very one-dimensional kind of preparation where you just prepare for architecture maybe, or just for planning, but that is not something that we advise here. We advise to go for a all-round preparation for all the subjects, because see, this choice that you have to make, that whether I have to attempt planning or whether I have to attempt architecture, this choice is something that you make in the examination hall, not beforehand or not while you're filling up the form. So this is a very big advantage. If you don't recognize it, you will not be able to use it towards your, towards the positive aspect. Why? Because in the examination hall, sometimes what happens is that even though let's say like, planning, but the questions might be such that maybe I'm able to score more in architecture part. So in that case, what matters at the end of the day is more marks and better rank. So if I feel that I'm able to score more in architecture, then I should have that kind of a preparation, so that I can have those choices open. So yes, you have to basically make that choice in the examination hall, and for that you have to keep your options open, prepare for both at a time. And I think enough time is also there, and it's not that difficult to prepare both the aspects simultaneously. But the subject that we are looking into today is urban design, and urban design completely comes under the common part of your GATE syllabus. That means irrespective of whichever part you want to select, you have to study this subject. Now, what kind of questions are asked from this subject? If I have to talk about types of questions, then both theory and numerical questions are asked from this particular subject. Now, majorly urban design is a theoretical subject. Sometimes numerical is asked. There is one particular section from which numerical may be asked. Very rare. Okay, I won't say very rare, but yeah, sometimes. Mostly you'll have theoretical questions. It's majorly a theoretical subject. Now, a lot of you might feel like it's a theoretical subject, so it's going to be like a lot of theory and this and that. But urban design is a subject which, how we approach here is, we approach urban design with the help of lot of pictures, because the more images that you see, the more visual aspect that you have, because urban design is about visual aspect. So if you are able to substitute, or you can say if you are able to basically back up that theory with some kind of visual image, then that helps you understand the concept even better, and basically to have a much more lengthened memory, you can say. You'll be able to remember that concept for a much longer time. Now the parts from which your you can say important topics or important subtopics, or the parts from which questions have been asked previously in your urban design. First we have got terminologies. So there are various terminologies that you need to be aware of as an urban designer, and direct questions are asked from these terminologies. Then your degree of enclosure. This is another subsection from which both numerical and theoretical questions will be asked. Then you have theories and theorists. So like you have in basically what you have is, you have certain theorists and you have very important urban design theorists and the theories that they have given. Like for example, in urban planning also we have multiple theories which are given by various urban planners. So they have given us various theories, so we remember the theories, we remember what were the objectives of those theories, and we remember the names of the theorists. Similarly, you have multiple different theories that are given by various famous urban design theorists. A lot of things you might find similar also, you may have heard here and there. So these are things that come in that are asked from this particular section. Now I'll tell you, this section is very 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 scoring, absolutely scoring. So this is something that I will always encourage. Make sure urban design is up till the notch, you have completed everything, or you're thorough with all the things. Okay, it's very easy to score. We'll look into the questions and you'll see it's actually very easy to score. Now this is the syllabus which is given exactly in terms of GATE. Historical and modern examples of urban design, elements of urban and built environment, concepts and theories of urban design, principles, tools, techniques of urban design. What are the public spaces, very famous public spaces, public squares, public plazas, what are they, where are they located, character, spatial qualities, all of these things. Urban design interventions for sustainable development and transportation, and urban renewable and conservation and heritage conservation. So conservation is also a part which we take up in your urban design itself. So at the end, when you are done with urban design, at the end of it we take up your conservation part as well. So this is also something that is incorporated in your urban design. Now this is how the GATE has given us a syllabus. Now obviously we do not follow exactly in the same order. Everything is covered and more is covered, I would say. Not just what is given in the syllabus, but more. Because you can see in past previous year GATE question papers, GATE always goes out of the box, goes out of the boundary, and always asks one or two questions which is not something that is maybe mentioned, or which is very out of the box. You may not have studied, like at least 90% of people do not know that question. So we cover all the extra part also, apart from whatever is given. So for convenience, for your convenience, basically, to kind of help you understand or have a understanding about the subject in a much better way, we have divided this subject into 10 sub-modules. Now how we proceed in a class is, basically we'll start with your urban design definition and evolution. Obviously what is urban design, how it has evolved over the time, which is very important to understand. Why? Because whatever we study today, all the theories that we will study, all the objectives, all the principles that we will study, it's not like this from day one. It has not been like this since ever. Things have evolved from the past, so we need to understand that evolution aspect also. Then we have objectives and elements, obviously what we aim to achieve, what is the objective through this urban designing, elements of it. Then we have urban design terminologies, very important terminologies, direct questions can be asked from this particular part. Tools and techniques, degree of enclosure, a very important part, subsection of your urban design again. Gestalt law of perception, one or two questions are asked. Very simple law, very simple, basic perception law. You all must have experienced it. It's maybe you just don't know the name, but this is something that you all must have experienced. Urban design theories and theorists, which I told you. Prominent public plazas around the world. So we'll look into the images of these public plazas. What are the main design features, design characteristics of these public plazas, types of urban structure, and the final part is urban conservation and heritage protection. So that is in itself a very different part. Now, what happens is that in every class we cover some of the sections. Okay, so what we do is that so that you are able to test whatever you have learnt in the class to its maximum limit, whether you have understood, whether you are able to solve the questions or not, we have multiple sectional tests at each level. So after the completion of first 5 modules, we have the sectional test 1. That means now you are eligible for sectional test. Sectional test 1 is based on whatever you have studied in the first 5 modules. Then from 6 to 8 modules, when you are done with that, we have the sectional test 2. That means all the questions are based on the sectional test 2. So you have studied it, you'll revise it, you'll attempt a sectional test and check how much you have understood. And then we have sectional test 3, which is after the completion of 9th and 10th module. And once we are done with all of these modules, we have a full length sectional test for the subject of urban design, a full length test where you have multiple questions and you have to attempt that. So you are able to test, there are multiple levels in which or through which you will be able to test how much you have learned, how much you have understood, and obviously you can always get back with any doubt that you have. Okay. Now without further ado, we'll quickly start with the first part of today's class, and that is urban design definition and evolution. So the first thing, whenever you study a subject, the first question that should come to your mind is, what is that particular thing? Urban design, you may have studied in your bachelor's, you may not have studied in your bachelor's. Some people have different kind of perception about what urban design is. But thinking about it from the subject point of view, what is actually urban design? What do we have to study here? And what does it all talk about? So I have to give you a very simple definition of urban design. Then basically, let me help you understand urban design with comparison to urban planning. So urban planning, when we talk about urban planning is basically planning on a 2D level, study of an area on the 2D level. That means you try to locate different activities, you try to understand the location of different activities, the spatial distribution of activities, resources. And when we talk about urban planning, a lot of it also works with, or you can say a lot of it involves policy making for economic development, social development, all of these things. Okay, so it's study of a region, and or you can say planning of a region on a 2D level, whereas urban design talks about a particular region or an area on a 3D level. That means whenever we come to 3D, that means what we are talking about, the visual aspect of it. So urban design talks about the visual quality, the visual aspect of a neighborhood or a city or a region. Okay, so it talks about the visual aspect of your area. Now, urban design is, what you have to understand is, when we talk about architecture, so all of you are maybe studying architecture or you have completed architecture. So when you talk about architecture, as an architect, you deal with a building, an individual building, one single building. That is what you deal with. Whereas being an urban designer, you have to deal with not just one but a group of buildings. It can be in a neighborhood, it can be in a particular zone, it can be an entire city. And when we talk about this, we not just talk about designing on a macro level, but we start right from the micro level. That means we go right from your building level to your city level. That means if you want a city to have a coherent means some kind of a unity in their visual quality or visual aspect. That means buildings do look, see, if I have to give an example, then if I tell you Varanasi, all of you, or at least most of you, will be having that image of ghats in your mind. Why? Because it has a very strong image of ghats. That is what is Varanasi known for. Similarly, every city should have its identity, and as an urban designer, you will work towards basically improving or strengthening that identity of the place. So urban design, it talks about, or you can say it involves the visual aspect of an area. It involves the visual aspect of an area. Okay, it strengthens the visual aspect of an area along with the functional point of view. Now see, when we talk about visual, it's not just we want to beautify a place, make it beautiful. No, at the end of the day, that visual aspect should be able to contribute towards some kind of a functional aspect. Now let's say that I want to make my city greener. That means I start planting trees, but there is also a functional aspect of that thing. When you plant your trees, let's say alongside a particular road, you are creating a shaded region below which you may place some kind of benches and people can sit there. So you are actually improving not just the visual aspect but also the functional aspect of that place. Let's say this is a particular road, and this is the pedestrian. Now let's say you have planted trees here, okay? So it's creating some kind of a shade, and now you can obviously put some kind of a let's say benches beneath that. So now people would love to sit there during the summer seasons as well. If they are tired, they may sit there. During the evenings, they may sit there. But let's say if there is no tree, will anybody want to sit there like just open in the beneath under the sun, open completely? You're literally sweating in the sun. So with the visual aspect, we also aim to improve or aim to contribute something to the functional point of view as well. So that is what your urban design is all about. And urban design is a multidisciplinary subject. It's a multidisciplinary subject. When we talk about multidisciplinary subject, what is a multidisciplinary subject that you have to understand is basically it deals with different people from different professions. When you are an urban designer, you have to work with urban planners, you have to work with transport planners, engineers, you have to work with architects. So you are working with different kind of people. So it's a multidisciplinary subject which involves working with professionals from different background, okay? And like urban planners, transport engineers, architects, other people who are basically working in that particular field. So it's an multidisciplinary field in which you work with different kind of individuals. Now we have understood what urban design is, and we slowly will understand that what all are the things that we have to look into when studying urban design. But before that, we have to understand how urban design has evolved throughout the time. Now, how it was before and how it was afterwards. The image that you see on the screen, that is basically image of your London. And this is an image of the city of London during the Industrial Revolution. And we know Industrial Revolution basically started around, it's debated when it actually started, but you can say something, the span that we take is 1760s to 1840s and all. So during the era of Industrial Revolution, this is how your city of London looked. Very drastic, very stark sight as compared to what you see London today. It's a very different sight, definitely. So we will understand this evolution in two parts. How is that? Pre-industrial era and post-industrial era. That means how was the situation before industrial era and how was the situation after your industrial era. Now before industrial era, if we talk about how things basically came down, so everything started way from your prehistoric times when you had these ancient civilizations, the Mesopotamian civilization, Indus Valley civilizations. Even though they were when we talk about Indus Valley, we can visualize a very planned civilization. Everything was very planned, very proper. Nothing was out of the place. So when we talk about these civilizations, before Industrial Revolution, nobody had this concept of urban design as such. Okay. Back in the times of prehistoric, classical era, medieval era, people generally focused on your cultural aspects. Let's say Hindus have this concept when you all are architects, so you'll be able to relate to this concept of Vastu. So they construct their houses as per the Vastu, like northeast corner is the Shan corner. You have to have some kind of water body or water element of water in that particular corner. So similarly, back in the days, different cultures had different kind of point of view. So they always worked on those, directional point of view, that as per our, particular belief, the king's palace should be in the center, and then the priest should be somewhere near the palace, and then outskirts you have people who maybe they considered as, lower caste people, or let's say people from lower status. So these kind of concepts were there. And whichever, generally your palaces were very very luxurious, they had different kind of gardens, different kind of landscaping inside, but outside you do not have anything for the common people. So this was something that happened. And it was, if you talk about the urban design that we see today, beautification, green area, open spaces, that was something that basically you can say started kind of taking a form from Renaissance period, when there was this huge epidemic which broke down and it killed a lot of people. And Leonardo at that time, he decided to look into the urban planning problems, and it was then that the concept of ideal city started, that a city where nobody is falling sick, where the sanitary conditions are very good, hygiene is good, everybody is having equal spaces and all these things. So what we see today, the kind of urban design, it started taking a form in you can say Renaissance period. Now comes the industrial period. Now industrial period is kind of marked by capitalism, you can say. Sorry, this is, yeah, capitalism. So it was during this era that people started, people thought about capitalizing on everything. Now people were like, okay, this is a land, and land is going to give me money. So rather than having an open space or a green area or a school, like I don't know how that is going to help me make money, I can build an industry here and I can have some kind of a profit making aspect from this. So people were very capitalistic, had a very capitalistic mindset. They wanted to have some kind of a profit making aspect on every piece of land. They did not want to waste any piece of land. So to those, to people, when at that particular era, when people had that kind of a mindset where they want to just go for profit making, green spaces and open spaces sounded very ridiculous. It was a waste of money, waste of space. So that is why they were like, stop everything, make industries everywhere. And it was a very dark era for your urban design, a very dark era. It was argued that during this time your urban design was murdered basically. So it was a very dark era for urban design all in all. Everything was very dingy. There were a lot of factories being set up. People were, gathering all around these factories in very congested housing, congested tenements. They did not have proper sunlight, proper space, proper hygienic conditions, sanitary conditions. People were getting sick. There were a lot of epidemics that were breaking out and stuff. So it was a very dark era all in all for urban design. But even the darkest cloud has a silver lining. Similarly, this actually resulted in something very positive. And what was that positive aspect, if you have to understand? Then people actually started realizing that that green space, that open space, that urban designing aspect is not waste. It's something that we need. And it was then that, your city beautification, your park movement, all of these things started. Started realizing that we need to bring back the green spaces. We need to bring back the, open areas. We need to have a very proper, very regulated kind of a planning. And that is the time when it was during this era that they gave a lot of standards, with respect to your urban design, a lot of standards with respect to open spaces. You have in architecture also, a lot of standards, bylaws are there. Let's say 30% of the land should be reserved for open spaces. Similarly, these kind of things started coming then. It was then that the people realized that, we actually need these things. It's not waste. And then we have the post-industrial era where people are basically, you can say experimenting with stuff. They know that we need these spaces. They are having those kind of very regimented, very regulated bylaws which are in place. You have a lot of things which says that, you need to have, like in planning, in our cities, for our cities only, URDPFI, it lays down that, you need to have this much percentage of your city area to be dedicated to green spaces. There are huge parks, city level parks coming in, community level parks are coming in, and all of these things are taking place. So this is something that is a post-industrial era. So this is how urban design has evolved all throughout the time. the thing that you see today, that is not how it was right from day one. Now we come into objectives and elements, that is with or through urban design, what do we aim to achieve and what are the elements of urban design. Now we'll quickly go through these objectives of urban design. The first is legibility. When we talk about legibility, we talk about wayfinding. Just write this term below your legibility, and this comes later on when you study about urban design theorists and theories as well. It comes back then. So wayfinding means what? Let's say you visit a particular city. This is a city, and let's say the roads are like this. So let's say you're somewhere standing here and you want to reach here. It's pretty simple. If I give you a direction, go straight on the second intersection, take a right turn, and then on the first intersection you get, take a left turn. Very simple, right? Let's say again this is some kind of an area, and these are the roads that you have. Some kind of an organic design, not a planned city, not a simple city, very congested, very organic design. Let's say you're somewhere here and you have to reach here. There are multiple ways that actually goes to that path, and it is that particular point, and it is very confusing. Even if I give you some directions, you might end up getting lost. So legibility means what? How easily are you able to find your way around a particular city or a particular area or neighborhood? That is why legibility is associated with the term wayfinding. That means finding your way around a place. And how will you be able to easily find your way around a place? Only if there is a simple development. You have proper landmarks. Nowadays, you might see on the intersections, you have a lot of these, statues of some freedom fighters, maybe, or something. Then you can say, go to that particular intersection. There's a statue of this freedom fighter. From there, you can take a right turn or a left turn. So these kind of things help us to understand or remember the place much more better. Having some, these landmarks, whatever intersections, whatever nodes there are, it will create a very strong image. So next time if I have to visit here, I know that there is a statue, let's say on this particular area, there is a statue of Subhash Chandra Bose. From there I have to take a right turn. So that statue will leave a very strong identity in my mind. That means through urban design, we want to create neighborhoods that are easy to navigate through. That is legible. The next objective that we come to is character of the place. Now, I don't know how many of you have seen this particular place before, but this is an image of Hazratganj in Lucknow. Now, look at this particular image. There's a unison. It's an entire street of Hazratganj. It's a central business district. And there is, you can see there's a coherent design in this image. The color is same throughout the street length. Look at the signages. It's black signage with white color of writing. So even SBI Bank is not allowed to use their own blue and green color. They use that, not blue and white color. They use that black background. On that they have written white SBI with that white colored pen, white colored ink. So that is how strict they are with their signages. Now look at the railings. It's the same throughout. Look at the type of, your street lamps that you have. Look at the type of these, design that you have, the color scheme. Everything is same. And because of that, a very cohesive, that means a very unified image comes out. And just because there is this unified image, this particular place has a very strong, or is able to create a very strong identity in our minds. Okay. This particular aspect is called the character. That means through urban design, we aim to achieve a very strong character of a particular place. Now, if we talk about, let's say, I don't know how many of you have visited Delhi, or if you have, even in the images, or you can just Google right now, Connaught Place. Now, Connaught Place is in the heart of Delhi, and the entire area, it has a very unified look, a very strong character. So if I tell Connaught Place, and if you have seen Connaught Place before, majority of you will basically think about the same thing. You will not think about different images. You will think about the same kind of an image when I say about that thing, when I name that place. Similarly, Varanasi, Ghats. So that is how, you can actually bring out that strong identity of that place. So when we talk about character, we talk about a recognizable. Now you will obviously have the study material and everything is written there, but I'm giving you keywords here so that you can make notes. Your notes have to be very concise, and I'm trying to put in keywords so that you can make your notes and you can just read it through one glance and you'll be able to understand what these things mean. This recognizable image help identify city or your neighborhood. Okay, in order to identify the city or the neighborhood, you have a very recognizable image, and these can be achieved through historical buildings, let's say some kind of a, let's say some kind of historical building. So when I say Taj Mahal, you'll automatically go to Agra. When I say Agra, you'll automatically start visualizing Taj Mahal. Some kind of historical place that will be creating a very strong character of some place. Okay, so this is another thing that we aim to achieve. Then you have ease of movement. That means we try to design neighborhoods in such a way that they are easily accessible to different kind of people coming from different areas. So neighborhood should be compact. What we say is neighborhoods or areas, compact neighborhoods, accessible. That means neighborhood, let's say we have a certain area. This should be accessible to people who are using different modes of transportation. Now you can see this is a station here in this first image. So from the station you are able to take up a bus also. Okay, some kind of bus interchange is available. If you want, you can take an auto. So basically you are able to reach a certain place through different mode of transportation. Let's say you look at this image. Then in this particular image you can say that this particular neighborhood is able to cater to people who are using different mode of transportation. Let's say private vehicle, public vehicle, non-motorized vehicle, or people who are walking also. So that is how you first create an ease of movement. Now see, what happens is that 400 to 500 meters is taken as a walkable distance. That means anything that is under this 400 to 500 buffer radius, you can easily, or you may prefer to walk to that place instead of taking a car out. Anything beyond this you will not like to walk. So that is why we try to design neighborhoods, or we try to design sectors or blocks. Blocks is basically neighborhood only, with this particular dimension of 500 meters, so that anywhere you are, you will be able to basically walk up to this particular 500 meter or 400 meter distance, and you will be able to access that particular kind of a service. Let's say this particular neighborhood is a residential neighborhood. Now residential neighborhood does not mean that only residences will be there. We have to have different kind of mix of activities here. Let's say some commercial activities, some institutional activities, so that if you're living here and you want to buy something, you can actually just walk in and you can buy it. You don't have to walk all the way to some commercial area, or you don't have to drive all the way to some commercial area for day-to-day basic needs. So that is why this is the kind of ease of movement that we want to create, and for that we want to create compact neighborhoods which is accessible to all. Then the next objective that comes up is diversity. As I told you, that neighborhoods are designed in such a way that they have a diverse mix of activities. Diversity is there to remove monotonicity. Okay, any kind of monotonous nature. To remove that, we try to input diverse mix of activities in a particular neighborhood. And see, when we talk about this diversity of activities, that is basically you can say a mix of activities such as residences, commercial, etc. So when we talk about having a mix of these activities, then we just don't talk about mix on a 2D level. That means you have houses, and then let's say this is a city, and let's say this is a neighborhood, and then you have roads like this. and then in this part you have houses, in this part you have commercial. Not like that. We can bring in diversity even on a vertical level. That means look at this particular image, that is on the lower floor you have retail, above that on the first floor you have offices, above that you have residences. So this kind of diversity or mix can be brought up both in horizontal and in your vertical level. This is another thing that we aim to achieve. Then adaptability. So adaptability, when we talk about adaptability, basically your design should be such that it should be able to adapt to your future changes as well, or future requirements as well. Let's say this is a particular road, and this particular road is, let's say it's pretty empty, nobody is visiting here much, and let's say this is a temple complex, and I have my temple like this, entire plot utilized. Now obviously you have temple, you will have some kind of activity, some kind of garland shop, sweet shop here. People who are visiting, let's say they are parking their vehicles here. People who are coming here, gathering in front of the temple here. So there is a lot of activities that is taking place on the road also. But it's okay because that road is actually not that much utilized at this point. Now, let's say 10 years down the lane. 10 years down the lane, this road has become very congested. Now what will happen? The activities that actually took place on this part is actually creating certain kind of obstruction for the people who are traveling on this road. Let's say this road has become very heavily congested. There's a lot of vehicular movement on this road. Now these activities which are taking place because of this temple, they will start obstructing the vehicular movement. They will start creating a jam condition on this road. So what is happening? Your design is not able to adapt to the future changes. That is why, let's say now if we had designed the temple complex something like this. Let's say we had given a little bit space here for, so that we have created certain stalls so that anybody who wants to set up sweet or garden stalls, they can set it up here. We've created a small parking here, and this is the area where people can actually gather. That means now none of my activities is actually overflowing on the road or disturbing any kind of vehicular movement. So this is a change which is adaptable to future situation. Let me give you another example. Let's say there is a road, and again an empty road, it's not used much, it's a not much visited road. So on that, let's say you have a warehouse. Let's say this particular thing is a warehouse. 20 years down the lane, maybe this road has become very heavily used. It has become a main road in your city. Now a lot of buildings have come up around, which are major shopping complexes or shopping malls, something like that. Obviously you cannot have a warehouse in such a prime location. You have to convert that. Now your design should be such that your warehouse can be converted and adapted to the reuse of a, let's say, shopping complex, or let's say some kind of a shopping plaza, something like that. So that kind of adaptability always should be in your mind while you're designing. So when we talk about adaptability, we talk about place should be able to accommodate to change over time. This is what your adaptability is all about. Then quality of public realm. Quality of public realm is what basically public realm, when we talk about public realm, is your public area. And this public area is what? This is an area where people gather. And where is that area? Basically, you have, let's say this is a street. You have buildings here. Let's say you have another buildings here. Let's say you have a some kind of a green area here, and then you have buildings. So this green area, let's say it's surrounded by a building. So this, when we talk about this area, this road, this green area, all of these are public realms because these are the places where people gather, they interact with each other. So this public realm is actually created by the buildings, the streets and the open areas. All these together, they interact in a way and they create that public realm. That means the public area where people on a daily basis, and this can be built or natural. Okay, so this is what your public realm is. Now what is the quality of public realm? Actually greatly influences how efficiently used your public realm will be. Let's say if this is Let's use a different color here. Let's say if this is your public plaza, let's say some kind of a open area this is. Now in one case, let's assume that we have completely left this area completely open, there's nothing going on here. In the second case, what we can assume is that, let's say I have created some kind of a water body here. I have created green area here, and there's a water body here. Okay, I have created seating places here. I have created some kind of your stall place here. There are a lot of trees which are lined along to create shaded areas. Now just with the implementation, and obviously it's a well lit area so that even if you want to sit at night, you can sit, there is no problem. Just with the implementation of these few smaller things, I have turned a place where people may have gathered if required, like just pushing them together, they may have gathered to a place where people would willingly want to come for, willingly want to hang out at. So you have completely changed the efficiency of a place. So just by incorporation of certain small elements, you can actually elevate the quality of a public area. Okay, this is what your quality is. Similarly, we have elements as well. So when we talk about elements, again, these are the elements. As I told you that elements, when we talk about it goes from your micro level to your macro level. That means you start right with the materials and texture of the building facade. What kind of materials is used? What kind of texture is used? What kind of building facade interface? That means what kind of a design is used there. What kind of articulation? That means if there is some very specific, like remember in the Hazratganj picture, we saw railings were used, a pink color was used to create a kind of a lining or highlight somewhere. Then we come to street level or landscape level. From a building level, we come to street level, okay, or the landscaping level. Heighting and massing, what kind of height do you want your buildings to be developed at? Density, how dense or how sparse you want it to be. What kind of a mix of activities there? Urban grain, urban structure. So we come right from your micro level to your macro level. All of these things. Now, these are the things that we look into your urban design elements. These are the elements of it. Similarly, we have again, as I said, this is a demo lecture. So when we study in class, we look into all of these things in detail, and I explain you how these things work together to actually create an area which at the end of the day is efficient, is visually aesthetic, and has a functional value to it as well. So obviously, this is a very small part of it. There's a lot of interesting things which are still to be covered, which I have not covered, and I hope that creates a sense of curiosity for you as well, that what is left. And as I'm telling you, just by understanding in the class, because at the end of the day, let me show you one particular question. Let's try to look into this particular question. This was asked in previous year GATE question paper in 2012. So in the class, you also do your previous year question paper related to the things that we have learned. Now what is written here? Which of the following is not a basic principle of designing people-friendly urban built environment? Not a basic principle. Okay, let's see. Diversity. No, we want to create diversity through urban design, right? So diversity is a principle. Diversity is a principle of urban designing, right? We want to create a mix of activities. Okay, so diversity is not the answer, because they want us to take, they want us to tell that which is not a principle, but diversity is a principle. Adaptability, yes, it is a principle. Why? Because remember, we said that we want to create designs which can adapt to future requirements as well. So adaptability is a principle. Legibility, yes, we want to create legibility. Why? Because we want to make areas such that people can easily navigate through it. Monotony, do we want to create some kind of monotony here? I don't think so. The term diversity came, right? With the diversity in, the monotony goes out. So we do not want to create monotony through urban designing. So monotony is not a basic principle. So your answer will be B, monotony. So we also look into questions so that you'll be able to understand what kind of questions are asked with respect to that particular section, which will give you a much more clear understanding. I hope you have had a clear, you did get a clear idea how we approach everything in the class, how it is taught. and how we go in right from the basic up till the advanced level. So even if you don't have any idea about the subject, it's perfectly alright. We approach everything from the base up till the advanced level. Okay, so this is it for today's demo class for urban designing. Thank you very much.